On a sealed section, the lengthy and scathing Rabbitoh Royal Commission report has recommended individuals involved in the illegal scheme be pursued for prosecution. That is criminal and civil. It's sealed for now. What's going to happen to it? What were the other options? A prominent lawyer says the names of those people should be made public. Anthony Wheely, KC, argues the section secrecy is a block on the open justice, and he joins me now. Thanks for your time. So what did you make of the reasoning of the Royal Commissioner to seal this particular section?
Well, first of all, let me say I think it's an excellent report, and I don't wish to be critical of the of the report itself. Just in this one area, I would, with respect, differ from the Commissioner. As a judge, I often had in criminal trials, I was dealing with this debate between whether material should be suppressed or whether it should be made open to the public. And that's where the principles of open justice come in. And I came away from my experiences as a judge absolutely convinced the principles of open justice ought to prevail, except in, the most unusual of circumstances. And here, I think by sealing the names of the people who are to be referred and the identity of the precise agencies to which they are referred, we create a kind of intense area of speculation and indeed titillation and gossip. And I don't really like that much. And the second reason I'm against it is that we don't know how long these agencies will take to consider whether they should act, what actions they should take, and so on. We've seen, for example, how long the Berejiklian report in New South Wales ICAC took. So if we're faced with the prospect of waiting, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year before knowing who these people are and to what agencies they've been referred, I think it's unsatisfactory. So while I'm not at all critical of Catherine Holmes and think she did a fantastic job, on this one point, I think that the principles of open justice really demand that the public know what she's done and who the people are and to which agencies they've been referred.
Obviously, we don't know exactly what the recommendations are, so there's somewhat of the next question, I guess, we're somewhat in the dark, but to the best of your knowledge, when we talk of the prejudice element of not revealing the names for any potential action down the track, would there be any way any of these potential cases could be jury, or would it be with a judge, and therefore is that somewhat negated, that prospect of a prejudice against someone if they do face actual charges and it goes further than that?
Look, I accept that there could be prejudice in the case of somebody who's referred to the direct public prosecutions in the Commonwealth, and that could most certainly would be a jury case if proceedings are commenced.
Okay.
But referring the matter to the direct public prosecutions doesn't mean that criminal proceedings will be commenced. It's then a matter for the director to say, well, I'll look at the evidence and I'll make up my mind whether we should recommend prosecution. And that process can take months. So the mere naming of someone and the fact that they're referred could be accompanied by a statement making clear that the referral does not mean that the person has been found guilty of a criminal offence, merely that it's going to be reviewed by the appropriate agency. And I think revealing the names, revealing the agency and putting that sort of protective measure on it is a sufficient protection for reputation.
What are the options from here in terms of whether this ever gets released? Is it simply a case of we'll only know if charges then actually proceed, or is there a scope to say, okay, at this point they've decided yes or no, all of it will be released? What happens from here and what should happen from here, I suppose, as well?
Well, on the face of it, we've got to wait for these agencies to look at it. And bear in mind, we're not just talking about criminal agencies, we're also talking about the new Anti-Corruption Commission, which is not a criminal agency, not any part of the criminal justice system. It's only just finding its feet, so it's going to take a while to look at this, and we won't know whether somebody's going to be investigated for some type of misfeasance in public office until the agency tells us that that's the case, and they mightn't tell us at all. So we may never know.
Okay.
And that's not good because, people may be cleared. And I think if they're going to be cleared, we ought to know who they are and then be told if they're going to be cleared later on. I think that that's a much fairer way of doing it. It's this idea of keeping things from the public that can be very damaging to the concept of open justice, which is a principle that the public are entitled to know what's going on with royal commissions, with anti-corruption commissions, and in the courts. That's where the principle is strongest.
Okay. Sorry to jump in, nearly out of time. Is there a bit of a grey area? Because if from here there's not, say, someone, let's say someone is named within this, we find out later who it was, but there's a decision not to prosecute them. Is it a bit unfair to name them? Because at that point, they're not actually cleared. They just haven't had those charges proceed, and people forever say, well, there was a recommendation to prosecute them. Is that one of those uncomfortable grey areas for someone's name or reputation to be in?
Yes, look, there is a grey area, of course. These things aren't black and white, Tom, and I accept that that's why the Commissioner Holmes did this, and I accept the bona fides of what she did. And I understand well that principle. It's just that I think myself that for all the reasons I've given, the better course is to name the person referred, to indicate to which agency they've been referred, and to indicate then that this referral does not imply, nor is it intended to apply, that any criminal or civil action will be taken against the person, merely that it will be investigated by the appropriate authority.
And I guess this sort of leads us to how the National Anti-Corruption Commission will operate in that very regard as to how they publish reports. That's perhaps a topic for another day. Anthony Whealy, KC, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.